Hello, everyone. We are here with section two, part two of section two, and we are going to start out on page 63, uh, about the third paragraph in. So, this is right after the gentleman Ryan Boucher from Georgia basically has tried to talk to both Sheriff Lesenby and Trooper Winters to try to get some attention to the fact that Brad Holder has some really creepy stuff on his Facebook page, some very interesting, weird stuff. So, despite Lesenby's comments essentially telling Boucher that Holder had been eliminated as a suspect, Boucher was undeterred. Boucher felt something was off and called state police post and this is probably going to be catching up with a bit of last video, but I wanted to start off with just a little bit of overlap just so I didn't miss anything. So, felt something was off and called state police post. As detailed in the Winters report, once Boucher provided his ID, Boucher then provided Winters, quote, pictures from Holder's media account depicting tree limbs on the ground displaying runes consistent with the Odin belief system, Winters report, page 2. Then Winters wrote in the report that, quote, but the provided media pictures show unknown young girls believed to be deceased with sticks placed over their bodies. The sticks across the female's body, or the females on Holder's medias, were believed to be symbols or quote unquote runes. Winters report, page 2, emphasis added. It should be noted that law enforcement has to this day still failed to turn over this mimicked murder photograph found on Holder's Facebook page, i.e., Exhibit 43. Fortunately, defense counsel was able to find Winter's report in the sea of evidence and upon reading it, understood the potential importance that this photograph may have in terms of Holder's culpability in the murders. The only problem is that law enforcement failed to produce it for the defense. Fortunately, through due diligence, the defense team located Boucher, drove to Georgia, and met with Boucher, who was willing to provide them the images to Richard's defense team and did, in fact, turn those images over to Richard Allen's defense team. Even as recently as at his August 23rd, 2023 deposition, Winters stated he was still unable to locate images referenced in the Winters reports that Boucher had provided Winters back on April 12, 2017. This means that if the defense team had not traveled to Georgia, the defense, would still not be in possession of this exculpatory piece of evidence and would not have been able to ask questions at the deposition to law enforcement concerning those images. To this very day, the state of Indiana has yet to turn over the images that Boucher provided Winters back in 2017. Following his interaction with Boucher, as can be read in Winters' report, it was apparent that Winters' interest was piqued. Details surrounding the February 14th, 2017 crime was a well-guarded secret hidden from the public, yet somehow Brad Holder, an Odinite whose son dated Abby Williams, had 1, an image on his Facebook page that closely resembled the crime scene, and 2, appeared to have used ink to draw a rune on his hand that mimicked the very rune that was found on Abby. Both images are described in Winters' report. So what did Winters do once he realized that it appeared that Abby's boyfriend's dad, Brad Holder, appeared to know intimate details about the crime scene, kept confidential from the public? He spoke with Jerry Holman, Winters' report, page 2. The information that Winters unearthed via Ryan Boucher was so impactful on Winters that Winters, remembers talking with Jerry Holman of Unified Command 79. Winters even recorded the following in his report. I spoke to Sergeant Holman on April 12th, 2017. Sergeant Holman advised that the FBI had interviewed Holder shortly at the beginning of the investigation. Winters report, page 2. In his deposition, Winters provided his reasoning. Yeah, I think there's some substantial things that need to following up on. In the same deposition, Winters also stated he wanted to make sure that all the information I captured in my time was passed on, and because I just taken that information, I wanted to make sure that if I had no contact with anyone involved in the case again, that they were aware I had generated a supplement. Now, again, these are the same FBI interviews that in that short period of time between, oh, I don't know, January, what is it, 17th and the 20th, that somehow they recorded over all the interviews that they were doing in this case. Mhm. Winters felt that the Boucher tip was important. He felt it was so important, he wanted to make sure someone followed up on the lead by, at minimum, re-interviewing Brad Holder, 82. So this is from his report, page 2, Winters Depot, page 50, lines 10 through 15. Again, it should be noted as of September 11th, 2023, the defense has still not received the February 17th, 2017 interview of Holder. Even the state of Indiana's most recent discovery dump, which occurred on September 8th, 2023, did not contain Holder's February 17th, 2017 interview. However, on September 8th, 2023, Rick's defense team learned something very interesting about September 4th, 2023. Trooper Holman finally showed up on Winter's request by finally, or followed up on Winter's request by finally re interviewing Holder. It only took 5+ years. Well, punctuality and such. The defense has still not received Holder's first interview from February 17, 2017. We will see how long it takes for the state to turn over Holder's second interview from February 4th, 2023. If Holman did in fact re-interview Holder on February 4th, 2023, it should be noted that the interview came at the heels of the defense team's contentious August 10th, 2023 deposition of Holman. The defense asked Holman, "Are you going to fix these problems or are you going to actually look for the truth?" His response, "I'm going to look for the truth, but I think I already found the truth. But I'll definitely look into this, no doubt about it. I will find out if we have done the follow ups. I don't know about it. I will let Prosecutor McClellan know." Excuse me, and he can forward that information to you. So these footnotes are from his deposition, page 273, lines 16 through 18, and lines 18 through 25. The defense looks forward to watching the first Holder interview from February 2017, as well as the most recent Holder interview to see if Holdman treated Holder as an actual suspect, a label a label befitting the strong evidence that connects him to the murders, or if Holman's interview consists of softball questions lobbed at Holder with the purpose of fending off the defense rather than seeking the truth. Brad Holder created a creepy painting of a man believed to be Odin hanging upside down from a tree with his legs posed, similar to Abby's at the crime scene. This painting also contains two hidden Easter eggs, including one red F rune at the base of a tree, just like the red F painted on the crime scene. Previously, the defense marked as exhibits 32 and 33 these creepy images of the painting that Brad Holder created on February 2018. The image of a man hanging by his feet, Brad Holder provided at least two Easter eggs in this painting for anyone following him on Facebook. The first Easter egg is another example showcasing Holder's knowledge of hush hush crime scene information guarded from the general public, you will notice at the base of the tree is a rune painted in blood red. The rune looks like the letter F, just like the letter F rune in the crime scene at the crime scene painted onto the tree using Libby's blood. The other Easter egg is the date that Brad Holder placed on the painting in the lower right-hand corner of the painting. You'll see what looks like 217, then some gibberish. It looks therefore like a month, February, and a year, 2017. Abby and Libby were slain in February 2017. Upon closer inspection, it appears the date in the corner may be 2/17/18. If so, this painting was drawn 1 year to the day that Brad Holder was interviewed by the police and essentially dropped as a suspect. Is this just a fluke that Holder painted an F at the base of a tree almost 1 year to the day that the girls were slain when the crime scene was a guarded secret? Is it just a fluke that the date in the right-hand corner of his eerie painting shows 217? Unified Command would probably just say, yes, it's a coincidence. 2016 Brad Holder video from his Facebook page shows a pagan ritual with the most important part at the very end, a man that looks like Patrick Westphal appears to be using his fingers to paint a tree. Libby's blood was found on one of the trees at the crime scene in the form of an F that someone painted on the tree using their fingers or some type of utensil. On December 12th, 2018, Tommy Leggett received an email from law enforcement officer Greg Ferenczi. It was very informative email concerning Brad Holder's supposed alibi in the investigation into whether Holder dumped his old phone and received a new phone number, and also whether Holder sold his vehicle after 2013. I'm sorry, 213 um 2017. Find a copy of the attached email marked as Exhibit 48. The very last paragraph discusses a ceremony that Holder videotaped in Fort Wayne in 2016. Ferenczi left a Facebook link so that Leggett could watch the ceremony. This video was not turned over to the defense until the defense made a specific request for the video sometime in August 2023. The defense has made a copy of this 2016 video of the Odinism ceremony filmed by Brad Holder and marked the copy as Exhibit 49. Defense is providing that video as well as other exhibits referenced in this memorandum directly to judges' staff in the Allen County Courthouse. This roughly 25-minute ceremony itself is odd. At the beginning of the video, Brad Holder is revealed as the person videotaping the ceremony. During the last few minutes of the video, when the presumed Odinites are dumping water at the base of the tree, you will see a man that appears to be Patrick Westphal enter the scene. Once he is at the tree, you will see this person use his hand to what looks like mark the tree. Unfortunately, the viewer cannot see what the word, letter, or symbol, if any, this person, presumably Westfall, is marking the tree. The markings appear to occur at the similar height from the base of the tree as the markings of Libby's blood was in the crime scene photos. Ferenczi sent a link of this video directly to Leggett. This video seems to show Westfall marking the tree in a similar manner in which the F was marked with Libby's blood at the crime scene. Even Ferenczi commented on Westfall marking the tree in the email, yet Leggett either intentionally or recklessly disregarded this evidence, potentially linking both Holder and Westfall to the crime scene. F rune formed with sticks on the ground resembles F rune found on tree in Libby's blood. Attached to the memoranda is a photo provided to the defense in discovery from Brad Holder's Facebook page. The photo shows an F that Holder made from sticks from a tree. This image is marked as Exhibit 50. The defense took that image and placed it side by side with the F made from Libby's blood at the crime scene and marked that side by side photograph as Exhibit 51. Again, these exhibits display yet another example of Holder posting Facebook images that mimic information from a crime scene unavailable to the public in two ways. One, sticks are used like runes on the girls, and two, the F rune is used as F rune used and painted on the tree. A meme that Brad Holder posted on 2/17/17, 3 days after the girls were found murdered, which discussed how real friends help you move dead bodies, and then friends will keep their mouths shut. The meme was deleted at some point in time, but still recovered by law enforcement. Exhibit 52 is a meme that investigators found that had been erased from Brad Holder's Facebook page. It's always the memes that'll get you, boys. The image was obtained during through discovery. The meme shows a still shot from the movie Goodfellas in which the main characters are moving a dead body from one place to another. Billy Bat's dead body had been in one location but later moved. The meme says, your quote, real friend ones don't judge or ask a bunch of questions. Image of Goodfellas moving a body. They help you move the body and never speak of it again. So 3 days earlier, Brad's son's girlfriend was found murdered. The girls' bodies were moved at the crime scene from one location where they were killed to a different location at the crime scene where they were found on February 14th, 2017. Quote, they, friends, help you move the body and never speak of it again. Tony Lesenby and Tony Leggett, in private, know that it took many men to accomplish all the tasks needed for that crime scene to exist the way it existed when the bodies were found. The timing is certainly curious for a man who should have been mourning the brutal death of his son's girlfriend. A meme about moving dead bodies should create curiosity with law enforcement, especially when considering all the other evidence that links Holder to the crime scene. Why did Holder erase this meme? Was this meme a quick shout out to Brad Holder's Odinite buddies, thanking them for helping him with the bodies? Did this meme reveal the brazenness and overconfidence that Holder had concerning the belief that he would get away with the murders? These are questions that could have been posed to Holder in an aggressive interrogation. However, for Leggett and the rest of Unified Command, the meme was just, quote, nothing to see here, end quote. 2 a.m. Facebook post 12 hours after the girls go missing that says his testosterone is through the roof. This post was later deleted as well. Though Brad Holder told police he went from work straight to the gym to work out in Logansport in the afternoon, here is Brad Holder at 2 a.m. Footnote 86. In the most recent dump of evidence, the defense believes some evidence exists in which law enforcement attempts to verify whether Holder even went to the gym. Due to desire to fire up Frank's motion and memorandum, the defense has not had an opportunity to review that evidence if it exists. Sorry, I thought I had a text from a kiddo, so 1 second. Okay, I think we're good. Uh, here is Brad Holder at 2 a.m., purportedly at a fitness center, proclaiming his quote, energy and testosterone is through the roof right now, end quote. Find attached at that Facebook post part marked as Exhibit 53. Why is his testosterone so high? Why is his energy level so high? Why did he claim to go to the gym at 2 a.m. when he also claimed to have been at the gym just a few hours earlier? Why was he at the gym when he was supposed to be at work in a couple hours? Did he go to work the next day? Why did he delete the Facebook post? Why would he be saying these things when his son purportedly upset about his girlfriend being missing as the girls had not yet been found when Holder posted this message to Facebook? Law enforcement officers, to our knowledge, never asked these questions in an aggressive interrogation of Holder 87. Defense can't be sure what was asked of Holder either at his February 17th, 2017 interview or his September 4th, 2023 interview as law enforcement have failed to provide that to the defense, at least at the timing of this memoranda, though on the September 11th, 2023, prosecutor informed defense that yet another round of additional evidence was available for pickup. Defense should be picking up the new discovery on September 18th, 2023. Perhaps these videos will be found in the latest round of discovery over 9 months after the defense entered their appearance. Perhaps they did at the recent September 4th, 2023 interview. We shall have to see. In Greg Ferenczi's December 12th, 2018 email to Tony Leggett, Ferenczi had a few questions about Holder's deleted email. This includes questioning whether Holder's alibi about being at the gym would be further considered. Holder's purported alibi is discussed later in this in a later section. Brad Holder's Facebook page links him to Elvis Fields in Rushville, Indiana. Fields has admitted to participating in the murders and is now uh, being part of a quote gang, even protecting intimate deals of the crime scene that only those participating in the murder would know. Elvis followed Brad Holder on Facebook and even recreated Brad Holder's Facebook page like a fanboy. It makes sense near the finish of this section detailing some of the evidence that links Brad Holder to the murders by supplying the court with certain Facebook posts by Brad Holder that were mimicked and even recreated by a man named Elvis Fields. This will allow for a smooth transition to the next suspect on whom this memo will be focused, Elvis Fields. Who is Elvis Fields, this man that was mimicking Brad Holder's Facebook posts from 126 miles away? You will soon learn that he is a man that has admitted to both of his sisters that he was involved in the murders, a man that told his sister that because of his involvement, he was now part of a quote unquote gang and had a brother. A man who, after providing his DNA, asked police that if he could explain why his spit might be on one of the girls, would he still be in trouble? And then admitted to his sister that he did, in fact, spit on one of the girls. And perhaps the most incriminating, a man who provided intimate details about the crime scene, the type of detail that only those that were at the crime scene could possess. Upon closer inspection, you will learn that Brad Holder and Elvis Field did in fact have a common connection, Johnny Messer, but that Elvis lied to police and claimed that he, Elvis, did not know Johnny Messer, 88. Elvis's videotaped 10-18-18 interview at the 15:20 mark, attached as Exhibit 54, the state finally provided a taped interview to the defense on September 8th, 2023. Evidence provided by law enforcement shows that Elvis lived in Rushville, 125 miles away from Delphi. Additionally, Elvis, at first glance, seemingly had no connection to Delphi or Logansport. However, once law enforcement officers Craig Ferenczi and Kevin Murphy learned that Elvis had confessed to his sisters, and especially after Elvis posed a bizarre question to Murphy, these curious law enforcers our officers wanted to look at Elvis's Facebook page and ultimately compare it with Brad Holder's Facebook page. What they found was extremely telling. Elvis was obviously following Brad Holder on Facebook, as evidenced by multiple posts that Elvis mimicked Holder. Elvis Fields was not only following Brad Holder's Facebook page, but Elvis was also emulating Brad Holder by recreating Brad Holder's Facebook post in the year leading up to Abby and Libby's murder. The defense is attaching a series of 9 side by side photographs created by law enforcement. On the left side of each exhibit is a photo that Brad Holder posted on his Facebook page. On the right side of each exhibit is a photo that Elvis Fields posted on his Facebook page, in which Elvis took the time to actually recreate the photograph that Holder posted. They are marked as exhibits 55 through 63. Highlighting just a few of those side by side photographs. A. Exhibit 55 shows that Brad Holder an posted an image of brass knuckles surrounded by other weapons, firearms, next to Elvis Fields' mimics post, creating a photo featuring brass knuckles surrounded by knives. B, Exhibit 56, shows Brad Holder posted an image of Holder placing a single arrowhead in his hand next to Elvis's mimicked post, creating a photo of Elvis placing a single arrowhead in his hand. Exhibit 57 shows Brad Holder posted an image of two arrowheads near each other next to Elvis's mimicked post, recreating the photo of two arrowheads near each other. D, Exhibit 58 shows Brad Holder posted a photograph of a single clear mason jar next to Elvis's mimicked post of recreating a photo of a single clear mason jar. 89, the footnote says, unfortunately, law enforcement failed to date the attached exhibits. This mimicking is certainly curious, especially when Brad Holder's son dated Abby Williams when Elvis Fields, 125 plus miles away, confessed to both of his sisters on two different occasions that he was involved in the murders. This confession included telling, one sister that Abby Williams was a troublemaker, and that is why Elvis, used sticks to form horns on Abby's head. 90. The defense will be providing context for these statements, including photographs from the crime scene that support Elvis's statement, and admitting to the other sister that he was in big trouble and going away for a while because he was present when the girls were murdered and he spit on the girls. 91. On October 24th, 2017, Elvis told his sister, Joyce Moffett, that, quote, I am in trouble. I'm going away for a long time. I was on that trail and that bridge with those girls when they were murdered. There were two other people there with me when it happened. I spit on one of the girls after they were killed. Supplement 542 Joyce Moffett interview attached and marked as Exhibit 64. What are the odds that Brad Holder's son is dating Abigail Williams, and 125 miles away, a fanboy of Brad Holder named Elvis Fields is mimicking Brad Holder's Facebook post, and that a fanboy admitted to being involved in the murders of the girls? For Leggett and Holman, apparently this coincidence is nothing important. Moreover, Trooper Roland Purdy refused to concede that Elvis mimicked and recreated Facebook posts proved any connection between Holders and Fields. Trooper Purdy explained that the mimicked and recreated photos between Brad Holder and Elvis Fields might just be a coincidence. Footnote 92, Purdy deposition, page 109, lines 2 through 21. Leggett failed to inform Judge Diner of the evidence supporting Brad Holder's involvement in the murders before moving on to the evidence that supports Elvis Fields' involvement in the murders. Defense finishes the Brad Holder section by 1, discussing Holder's purported alibi, 2, showing the evidentiary link between Holder and Elvis Fields that supports Holder luring Elvis to get involved in the murders to join him, Holder, and Holder's gang, and 3, the circumstances surrounding Unified Command dropping the ball by intentionally or recklessly clearing Holder as a witness within weeks of the murders. Holder's alibi was not scrutinized, and evidence supports Holder recruited mentally infirmed Elvis Fields to assist in the abductions and murders while Holder tried to stand behind a shady alibi. Holder's alibi was not even close to fully vetted. Whenever Holder's name was brought up by a suspect, one reason that kept popping up as to why Holder was cleared as a suspect was his purported alibi. An unclassified FBI report revealed the work or lack of work that law enforcement performed to check out Holder's alibi. The document is marked as Exhibit 65. This report was prepared on April 13th, 2017. In this report, Pulaski Sheriff's Deputy Frederick Rogers, quote, followed up at Liberty Landfill in an attempt to verify the employment and work schedule of Bradley Holder. Suzanne Case from Human Resources stated that Holder's time card showed that Holder was clocked in at 4:55 a.m. and clocked out at 2:45 p.m. Chase also said she would be the only person that could change or manipulate the electronic time card. Chase Chase further admitted that there was a security camera on site. Here's how Deputy Rogers memorialized that part of their conversation. Chase advised that Brad drives a quote unquote junky red car to work with a G on the front bumper. Chase advised the security camera at the scales may have picked up his vehicle coming and going on that date. Case advised that Holder stays on property for his lunch break. The short report concludes with this. Case provided this officer with a copy of a timesheet for the week showing Brad indeed had clocked in and out on February 13th and was still at work on today's date. 93. If Holder was at work on the day the deputy showed up to vet Holder's alibi, it would have been a great time to interview Holder and those around him to determine if Holder was at work on Monday, February the 13th, 2017. Here's what we don't know about Holder's alibi at work. 1. Did someone clock in for Holder? There's nothing that Chase said about the clocking in process that would prevent someone else from clocking in for Holder. Whether Holder was actually at work on February 13th, 2017 could have been better vetted by simply talking to Holder's workmates who would have been on the job site on February 13th, 2017 to determine if they remember Brad Holder being present at work on the 13th. 2. Did someone clock out for Holder? The same logic applies to this question. Perhaps Holder clocked in but left early and asked one of his work buddies to clock out for him. It is unknown whether Odinites worked alongside Holder at the landfill, as it appears that Deputy Rogers did very little to investigate investigative work on this very important topic of Holder's alibi, nor did anyone at Unified Command provide instructions for law enforcement to fully investigate every aspect of Holder's alibi. 3. Did Chase actually watch the video? The report is so poorly written that it can't be determined whether Holder's distinctive vehicle could be seen on video or whether Chase was merely claiming that, hey, if you want to watch a video from the camera placed near the scales, it may show Holder's truck coming and going, end quote. 4. Did anyone in law enforcement watch the video alluded to by Chase? And if so, what did they see? It's quite maddening that the report refers to the possibility of that a simple review of the video could determine whether Holder's quote unquote junky red car with a G on the front bumper was seen coming and going on February 13th. However, the fact that it seems the report does not inform anyone of whether law enforcement ever viewed this video, it would be presumed that if the deputy did watch the video, he would have memorialized it. 5. Even if Holder's truck was viewed on the video, was Holder the person driving the truck? as it arrived to the work site. Perhaps the video would be able to show the image of the person driving the truck to see if it was Holder. 6. Even if Holder's truck was viewed on the video, was Holder the person driving the truck as it left the work site? In the event that Holder was wanted to appear showing up for work, then left early in someone else's vehicle who picked Holder up at the site to get to Delphi in the early afternoon, it would be important to know who was driving the truck when it left the property. It's only 24.3 miles or 32 minutes from Buffalo, Indiana to Delphi, Indiana. 94? The distance and time arrived by a simple Google search, the distance between Buffalo, Indiana and Delphi, Indiana. Even if Brad Holder had actually clocked out at 2:45 p.m., he could have gotten to Delphi before 3:15 p.m. If Holder left at noon and had a buddy clock Holder out a couple hours early to create the illusion that Holder was there all day, Holder could have been on the trail by 1 p.m. This is why watching the video and interviewing employees who worked alongside Holder would have been a critical step to take in the investigation. Asking simple questions to his workmates like, did Brad leave for any short period of time? Did Brad leave early? Was Brad even here? There is no excuse for all the failing for at all for failing to interview employees and for failing to watch the video. These failures leave open the real possibility that Brad Holder's alibi cannot be trusted without further vetting. Did the police ever consider that Brad Holder convinced his minions to abduct and participate in sacrificing the girls until he arrived? Evidence supports this theories, including a sketch of a man observed milling about the high bridge near the spot of the famous video. That sketch resembles Ellis Fields. Even Trooper Purdy cannot deny that fact. Charles Manson did not serve a prison section sentence for actually being the person who stabbed Sharon Tate 16 times. Manson's minions committed the heinous attack. Was it ever considered that Holder had devised the plan to kill those girls and used others to do his bidding? According to the Unified Command's Jerry Holman, it was considered, but there's no evidence. We have no evidence indicating he was commanding people to go unalive people. 95. That's the Holman deposition, page 20 or 233, lines 3 dash through 16. Then Holman commented on this very serious topic. I mean, ask Richard Allen if Brad Holder told him to go kill the girls. I mean, you guys communicate with the guy that killed the girls. 69 ID. Holman's comment offers insight into Holman's mind blowing lack of curiosity and his limited investigative skill set. Holman refusal to Holman's refusal to consider whether evidence supported the possibility that Holder was directing minions as is par for the course of what the defense has learned from review of evidence. Still, Holman is not interested in facts that support the possibility or even the likelihood that Holder was directing others to participate in the crime. Here are a few pieces of evidence that support the premise that Holman and Leggett and all unified command either recklessly or intentionally ignored. Brad Holder was from Logansport, Indiana, close to Delphi. Patrick Westfall was from Delphi, Indiana. Johnny Messer was from Rushville, approximately 125 miles from Delphi. Elvis Fields was from Rushville, approximately 125 miles from Delphi. Rushville's Johnny Messer was a Vinlander Odinite and good friends with fellow Vinlander Odinite Brad Holder from Logansport. Rushville's Johnny Messer was a Vinlander Odinite, good friends with fellow Vinlander Odinite Patrick Westfall from Logansport. Rushville's Johnny Messer recruited for his Vinlander gang all the time. Investigators learned that in the summer of 2016, Johnny Messer was recruiting men that lived in his Rushville apartment complex to attend Vinlander meetings. 99. Let's see. Odin Report interview with Brandon Mansfield, page 8. 8. Investigators learned that in the summer of 2016, Johnny Messer was recruiting men that lived in his Rushville apartment complex to attend Vinlander meetings. Or, I'm sorry. So, attached find attached information on Johnny Messer provided to defense in discovery. The information appears to have been made for a PowerPoint presentation and features Messer's photograph and other information, including the fact that Messer was home detention for a January 2018 meth arrest. This document is marked as Exhibit 66. Johnny's ex-girlfriend told investigators that Johnny attempted to recruit others all the time. Attached Exhibit 67, in which defense received discovery, and appears to be a document prepared for a PowerPoint presentation. Because of course because you have to bring a friend to the party or they don't give you an extra coupon. 9. At the same summer of 2016, Elvis Fields was already mimicking and recreating Brad Holder's Facebook post 100. Exhibit uh, 68 shows July 17th, 2016. Brad Holder posted one of the photos mimicked and recreated by Elvis Fields, a cross form out of sticks on the ground, also found in Exhibit 62, though the side by side photos, Exhibit, excuse me, 55 through 63 are not dated. This solo photo was found providing the date that Holder posted it. This fact would provide evidence that Johnny Messer had already recruited Elvis Fields and introduced him to Brad Holder, and Elvis was now following the group's leader, Brad Holder, on Facebook, and Elvis also emulated Holder. 10. The recruiter, Johnny Messer, was friends and acquaintance of Elvis Fields, also from Rushville. 11. The recruiter, Johnny Messer, therefore knew both Brad Holder and Elvis Fields. 12. The recruiter, Johnny Messer, knew both Patrick Westfall and Elvis Fields. 13. The recruiter, Johnny Messer, admitted in his October 23rd, 2018 videotaped interview that Abrams, Ned Smith, and Elvis were all interested in joining the same club that he, Messer, and Holder were involved in, but Messer, claimed that he did not think Vinlanders would be interested in them. 101. This whole dialogue between LEO Todd Click and Johnny Messer took place beginning at 1417 mark. Ned Smith claimed to be the father figure of Elvis, and Rod Abrams was rarely separated from Elvis. See Elvis's 10/18/18 videotaped interview. Ned Smith claims throughout the video that he is the father figure to Elvis and Ned. Uh, at the 1542 mark, Ned claims to be around Elvis every day in 2017. It might be telling that Ned Smith paid for Elvis's attorney and that Ned Smith wanted to be present at Elvis's interview. Hmm. Messer's comment appears to be a self-serving attempt to distance himself from being the person that connected Holder with Elvis in light of the fact that Dougie, a man who was mentally infirmed, had been affiliated with the club. See footnote 102. Odin Report 5, Odin Report page 5, Taylor Hornaday describes how Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall took advantage of a mentally infirmed man by the name of Dougie, asking him to perform menial tasks for them. Also find attached Exhibit 69, which is a summation of what appears to be prepared by police for a PowerPoint presentation that also discussed the lower functioning of Dougie being used by Holder and Messer as a gopher. Mhm. 14. Brad Holder and Patrick Westphal were known for taking advantage of mentally infirm men who wanted to join Holder and Westphal's gang, the Vinlanders. 15. When mentally infirmed men wanted to join Brad Holder and Patrick Westphal's gang, they, Holder and Westphal, would take advantage of those men, including have these men perform tasks. 102. So, yeah, they were basically using them as a gopher, as or these poor men as gophers, as go-getters, as, well, labor, basically. 16, Elvis Fields was a mentally infirm man. Trooper Kevin Murphy describes Elvis as having the mental capacity of maybe a 7 or 8-year-old. Murphy deposition, page 21, lines 14 through 20. 17, evidence provided by law enforcement shows that Elvis Fields, 125 plus miles away with no connection to Delphi or Logansport, was following Brad Holder on Facebook. 18, evidence provided by law enforcement shows that Elvis Fields was not only following Brad Holder, but that Elvis was also emulating Brad Holder by taking time to recreate Holder's Facebook posts in the year leading up to Abby and Libby's murder. 19, Elvis's Facebook mimicking of Holder's post may show that Elvis Fields was enamored of Brad Holder and wanted to be a part of Holder's gang, the Vinlanders. Holder 20, Holder was known to prey on lower functioning members of society to take advantage of them, and Elvis was a lower functioning member of society. 21, was Holder grooming Elvis, hoping that down the road Elvis would do Holder's bidding? 22, did Elvis actually do Holder's bidding? Evidence support that Elvis did in fact do Brad Holder's bidding. 23, a witness observed a man within a few hundred yards of the Monon High Bridge where the girls were abducted. The man looked like Elvis Fields. 24, the name of this eyewitness is Teresa Libert. 25, Teresa Libert lived in the same side of the Monon High Bridge, only 560 yards from the very place where the famous Down the Hill video was taken. 104. See Exhibit 70, screenshot from Google Map depicting the distance between the Libert property and the location where the Down the Hill video was taken. 26, a paved road, County Road 625 West, ends almost in front of Teresa Libert's home. 27, however, the road turns into a private gravel road that continues toward the Monon High Bridge and services the home of Brad Weber. 28, around 8:30 a.m. on the morning of February 13th, 2013, Teresa Libert observed a man on 625 West near her home standing near the mailboxes used by property owners nearby. Exhibit 126 is Libert's affidavit covering paragraphs 26 through 41. 29, Teresa Libert has never observed the homeowners walk to their mailbox because of the distance from their home to the mailbox. Homeowners drive their vehicles to pick up and drop off their mail. 30, Teresa Libert had never seen this man before. 31, Teresa Libert was in the passenger side of a truck being driven by her husband, David Liebert. 32, the man Teresa Liebert observed standing very close to the passenger side of the Liebert truck as they passed him. 33, Teresa Liebert, sitting higher in the truck, had a good view of this man's face as she passed him and noticed that the man appeared to be startled and concerned at being seen. 34, Teresa Liebert, in fact, turned to her husband and asked something like, quote, "What do you think he's doing?" 35, after passing the man and driving approximately 500 more yards into their driveway, the Leiberts exited the truck. 36, after exiting the truck, Teresa looked in the direction of where the man had been and noticed he was gone. 37, Teresa did not see him on the road at all. 38, Teresa believes that this man had to immediately and intentionally hide after they passed him on the road, which would explain his sudden disappearance. 39, the only reason anyone would be walking down the dead end road would be if they were lost or if they were going to see the Liebert or Weber family. 40, Teresa also remembers that the man she observed was wearing a canvas jacket that was a nondescript color but doesn't remember a hat. 41. Later, Teresa Liebert was asked to provide a description of the man's face that she observed that morning. She did provide a description. 42. The sketch of the man that Teresa Liebert observed that morning closely resembles Elvis Fields. 43. Even State Trooper Purdy had to admit that Teresa Leibert's sketch and the photo of Elvis Fields resemble each other. 50 or 105. Purdy Depot, page 95, lines 20 through 24, page 96, lines 1 through 4. Find attached the Teresa Liebert sketch marked as Exhibit 71 and a photo of Elvis Fields provided in discovery that Purdy was comparing with a sketch marked as Exhibit 72. 44, after the girls were murdered, Elvis told his sister he was now part of a gang and had a brother. 45, the gang was mentioned by Elvis as the Vinlanders and the brother as Brad Holder, or were they? Again, these are types of questions that the monumentally inept Unified Command should have been asking. Trooper Jerry Holman indicated in his deposition there was no evidence that Brad Holder might have directed others to kill the girls. As stated earlier, Holman even proclaimed that Holder is not even a suspect. The defense disagrees. Sometimes it just takes a little digging, a little curiosity, and the ability to put pieces of the puzzle together. Very early on, multiple tipsters contacted law enforcement via a tip line requesting that Brad Holder be investigated as a suspect, but Leggett and Unified Command quickly cleared Holder as a suspect, despite mounting evidence linking Holder to Abby Williams and the crime. Within days of the girls' ritualistic sacrifice, law enforcement started receiving tips from citizens who thought Brad Holder was possibly involved in the murder of the girls. For example, a report identified as DIN C00048 was submitted at 7:21 Eastern Digital Time on February 16, 2017. The narrative of the report states the following: Father of Logan Holder, ex-boyfriend of Libby on social media shows him as a member of the Vinlanders, posted posts of half-dead woman fascinated with gothic figures and simple out of tree branches, emphasis added. This tip intake was shown as being evaluated by Delphi investigators only 10 minutes later at 7:31 p.m. Eastern Digital Time. The evaluator of the intake concluded this tip required a lead. 2 days later, Tony Leggett himself, at the time, approved the lead, therefore requiring further action to be taken on that lead. Exhibit 45 was previously submitted as an unredacted copy of this document and was submitted confidentially. Good Lord, Mo. However, only 13 days later, Leggett would change his mind as to the importance of Brad Holder as a suspect. On March 1st, 2017, at 4:27 p.m. Eastern Digital Time, a report identified as DINC 002503 was reviewed by Leggett. DNIC 0020 or 2503 was a local police report that showed almost word for word a regurgitation of an FBI report discussed below. At the end of this report, Leggett concluded that no leads were required, end quote. That means after reviewing the contents of this report, Leggett was not interested in following up as on Brad Holder as a lead. Exhibit 37 is an unredacted copy of this document, filed confidentially. Good Lord. On February 17th, 2017, the FBI interviewed Holder at the Delphi Police Department. The turnaround on interviewing Brad Holder was very quick, as only 3 days had passed since the girls were found murdered. Attached is Defense Exhibit 73, which is the FBI report that memorialized the interview. According to the report, the blank below is an interview summary. It is not intended to be a verbatim account. It does not memorialize all statements made during the interview. Communications by parties in the interview room were electronically recorded. The recording captures the actual words spoken, emphasis added. As stated earlier, over 9 months, Rick's defense team still does not possess these, quote, electronically recorded, end quote, and you never will, interview of Brad Holder. Otherwise, it would attach a copy of that recording for the court to view or review, sorry. Presumably, this electronically recorded interview still sits in the Delphi police station or possibly at the prosecutor's office, as the defense learned on September 11th that more discovery was ready to be picked up. Also in a document, Holder told Special Agent Robert Pohl and Hammond Police Sergeant Christopher Guti the following. He, Brad Holder, stated his son, Logan, 16 years old, was a friend of Abby. On Monday, the 13th, Holder received a text from the Delphi Police Department asking him, Holder, to call back. Holder called the officer back and had a short conversation, stating he never met the girls. State police asked if they could examine Logan Holder's phone. While they were collecting the phone, they informed Logan and Brad that the girls were deceased. Footnote 106. Richard's defense team has never been provided with any electronic data taken from Logan's phone, nor any report contained on Logan's phone. Holder stated he visited Delphi every weekend to hang out with his friend Patrick Westfall. Footnote 107. Earlier in this memorandum, it was learned that as of February 17th, 2017, Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall were no longer friends because of something that had occurred in a pagan ritual in the woods by a river. It is interesting to note that in this interview, Brad Holder did not let the FBI agents know that Brad Holder, and Patrick Westfall were no longer friends, or the reason why they were no longer friends. Westfall lived in Delphi and was a friend of Holder in the Army. Holder and Westfall served in Afghanistan together. When Holder would go to Westfall's home, he would bring his son Logan. Logan and Westfall's son would generally go to the Canal Park and play basketball. Holder believed that this is when Logan would contact Abby. Holder never actually met Abby himself, and he believed that Logan only actually met her one time as they attended different schools. Holder knew Logan would communicate with her on the internet with his phone. Holder provided Westfall's phone number as redacted. He also stated that Westfall suffers from post traumatic stress disorder and is on disability. Holder continued to state that he and Westfall started a tribe of Astaro followers. Astaro is described as a warrior religion popular with members of the military. No, no, you guys are discount Walmart people from Timu. Let's get it straight. Holder and Westfall's girlfriend, Rachel Miller, host quote unquote Astaro meetings every Sunday at Westfall's house. Holder stated that there are only 5 to 6 regular members that attend. Wow, that's a small cult. I'm sure you're working on recruiting. Hey, I'm sure Lulabro's numbers were small when they first started out too. Holder asked Holder was asked where he was on Monday. He stated that he was at work driving machinery at Waste Management in Buffalo, Indiana, until he clocked out sometime between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. After work, he went to the gym, workout anytime in Logansport. Again, this very FBI report was later converted into a document that was reviewed by Tony Leggett, Exhibit 74. Upon reviewing this document, Leggett concluded that, quote, no leads were required. In his August 8th, 2023 deposition, Tony Leggett explained the different phrases used concerning how law enforcement dealt with tips. In the deposition, Leggett could not remember the exact language used to describe the situation when nothing more that could be done with a tip, meaning the tip was a dead end. In the deposition, Leggett said he believed the phrase used by law enforcement officers in reports to denote when essentially there was nothing left to do with a tip, i.e., a dead end, was, quote, no further leads. Um, Footnote 108, Leggett Depot, pages 58 and 59 for context, but particularly page 59, lines 17 through 21. In his deposition, Leggett also differentiated between the meaning of no further leads and another phrase that might appear on reports, quote unquote, fully covered. According to Leggett, no further leads meant that there was just nothing to this to start with. Fully covered means someone, i.e., law enforcement, did something with it and it was completed. Footnote 109, and that is both of these footnotes on this page are going to be from, Leggett's depot. Uh, Fully covered means someone, i.e., law enforcement, did something with it and it was completed, 109. When pressed as to what those two phrases, no further leads and fully covered, meant in practical terms of whether there would be an expectation of further investigation related to the subject of the tip, Leggett said both of those phrases meant law enforcement had completed work on the tip. In other words, the tip was dead. It is obvious between Leggett's deposition and the language that Leggett used in DIN-C002503, quote, "No leads required," that he, Leggett, had concluded that there was no further investigation needed of Brad Holder at the time. As he said in his deposition, there had been nothing there from the beginning that needed investigation concerning Holder, meaning no work to be done, no more investigation to be conducted concerning Brad Holder. Nothing to see here. Holder had an alibi. Please look at the next suspect. On March 1st, 2017, Leggett essentially gave up on investigating Brad Holder because of Holder's purported alibi. At the time at the time the decision was made, it was known that Brad Holder was a proud Odinite who loved to post about the pagan religion of which he was a part. It was also known that he used sticks and tree branches to form patterns similar to those left behind at the crime scene. Exhibits 75 through 84 are just a few of the images on Holder's Facebook pages, mostly before Abby and Libby's murder. Law enforcement also knew at the time Brad Holder was spending his weekends in Delphi with his friend Patrick Westfall. Yeah, I mean, this. none of this makes sense unless they looked at the video. I mean, they saw that his truck wasn't there, but I mean, if you are just Occam's razoring this, if you are, the most likely thing is either the manager at the CVS who's never shown any sort of interest via Facebook, any of his social media, any of his books at home in Odinism, or these guys that have a crap ton of Odinism, BS hanging about. It's it's just redonkulous. Um, let's see here. It's also known that Brad Holder's son, Logan, had some sort of quote unquote dating relationship with Abby. All this seems like the type of information that would absolutely require an intense and continued investigation into Brad Holder and not a quote, no further leads tag from Leggett. It would be crazy to think that at that early stage of the investigation, with all that information that was already known by Leggett, that Leggett, would assign the designation of, quote, "no further leads," end quote, ending the investigation of Brad Holder only 15 days after the girls were found brutally murdered at a very bizarre crime scene. Perhaps Leggett typing in, quote, "no leads required," end quote, was simply a typographical error or a clerical error, not some unfortunate oversight. Sure, Jan. I mean, I'm glad that you're trying to give him credit, but I'm gonna go with no. Perhaps it was a one-off circumstance. However, other reports demonstrate that Leggett did not commit a typographical error when he typed, quote, "no leads required" into the March 1st, 2017 report. It was intentional or reckless. For example, another tip had been supplied to law enforcement on March 9th, 2017 at 10:17 p.m. under DIN C003034. An unredacted copy of this report has been attached and marked as Exhibit 85 and has been filed confidentially. This report, the tipster told law enforcement that she, the tipster, had checked Brad Holder out and found him to be a dark and scary person through some of his postings on Facebook, and you want to check him out. Again, this is another example of a citizen who knows nothing about the secretive crime scene, unlike law enforcement who knew that sticks and tree branches were placed on the girls. Yet, even without the knowledge of the crime scene, this tipster, like many others, footnote 111. After Richard Allen was arrested, defense counsel even received a tip from as far away as Australia from a gentleman named Joe Lewis who thought the defense should look at Brad Holder based on a review of Holder's public Facebook post. See affidavit of M. Hoffman, Exhibit 12, or Exhibit 112, I'm sorry. Unified Command was based only a few miles from the murder site and thought Holder was not even a suspect, yet a man 9,000 miles away was able to figure out the importance of focusing on Brad Holder. Someone called the burn unit. We're gonna need a wambulance. Randall. I'm feeling No, I'm not feeling bad for you, never mind. Recognized that Brad Holder's Facebook page was dark and disturbing and required further inspection and investigation, especially knowing Brad's son was dating Abby Williams. As this tipster proclaimed to law enforcement about Brad Holder, quote, "you want to check him out," end quote. Except the problem was that Tony Leggett did not want to check Brad Holder out. Quite, excuse me, the opposite. After reviewing that particular tip sheet, Exhibit 84, as you can see at the end of the report, Leggett wrote, "no leads required has been covered." Essentially, Leggett was saying, quote, "nothing to see here, please move on to a different suspect." In fact, as it relates to this tip, Leggett was doubling down on his concluding remarks. by stating both that there were no leads required and that Brad Holder has already been covered. There could be no doubt whatsoever that as of March 13th, 2017, when Leggett wrote those words, that Leggett did not want Holder checked out any further as a suspect. Did Leggett's refusal to investigate influence other law enforcement officers to clear Brad Holder as a suspect? That's a question, and the answer is yes. And in the defense's opinion, and in my opinion, and most people with a functioning frontal cortex opinion. On March 14th, 2017, a tip came in identified as CJIS-C003175. An unredacted version is attached and marked as Exhibit 86 and filed confidentially. Look, the tipster in this report let law enforcement know that he, the tipster, had reviewed Brad Holder's Facebook page and posts and felt that Brad Holder put off a bad vibe. This lead was evaluated by Kevin Hammond, who was a member of Unified Command along with Leggett and Holman. Kevin Hammond wrote in his evaluation, "No leads required. Brad Holder has been cleared." Again, even moderately curious human beings would have looked in at Brad Holder's Facebook page, compared images of Brad Holder's Facebook page to the crime scene, and then considered that Brad's son was dating Abby and Brad was part of what appeared to be a religious cult and thought, wow, this is a guy we better investigate. Instead, Hammond followed Legett's lead. In the system, Leggett had already cleared Holder. So that is exactly what Hammond did when he entered his findings in the system. Now, two members of Unified Command, Tony Leggett and Kevin Hammond, had both disregarded the already mounting evidence that possibly pointed the finger at Brad Holder. Both Tony Leggett and Kevin Hammond had stopped investigations into Brad Holder dead in their tracks by claiming that Brad Holder had been cleared as a suspect only 4 weeks after the girls were murdered. Did anyone other than local law enforcement clear Bradley Holder as a suspect early on? Yes. On March 19th, 2017, at 11:23 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, another tip came in that believed Brad Holder sounded like the man on the famous audio released by law enforcement. An unredacted copy of this tip sheet, identified as CJIS-C003669, is attached and marked as Exhibit 87 and is filed confidentially. This time it was FBI agent Michael Peasley following the lead of Leggett, which indicated at the bottom of the report that Holder had been cleared. On April 14th, 2017, another tip came in that Brad Holder had changed his appearance following the girl's murder. This tipster further indicated Holder had even attended the girl's funeral, although he typically did not wear glasses. He was wearing glasses at the funeral. This unredacted report, identified as CJIS 262, is marked as Exhibit 88 and filed confidentially. Although another tip sheet reports exist that tell a similar story, the defense offers up one last report related to Brad Holder on August 14th, 2017 at 12:51 p.m. A woman contacted police. The report memorialized the tip as followed. Two women posted to a Facebook group that Brad Holder was responsible for the homicides. The tipster saw this post and told the police the contents of that post. The tipster went on to summarize what she'd read. Holder is a pagan, murdered the girls as sacrifices, left an F on the victim's body. Holden's son, Logan, is Abigail's ex boyfriend. Exhibit 89, outtake or intake report. So this is all from this report. Uh, Emphasis added. Obviously, the F at the crime scene was not left on the girl's body, but rather on the tree, painted using Libby's blood. However, how would this information concerning the letter F been known for anyone to talk about? A curious person might ask, could it be that someone who participated in the murders had talked about the crime scene with someone who would who mixed who slightly mixed up the facts as the story passed from person to person? Law enforcement should have reviewed this tip as something extraordinarily important because it was a tip providing secretive information about a crime scene not known by the public. This information about a quote unquote F being left at the scene was not only unavailable to the public, but there was no evidence that it was discussed on the internet. This tipster could have been interviewed. The Facebook members could have been interviewed. The state police or FBI tech people could have tracked down the people that posted this information to determine from where they received the F information. Continued investigation as to the source of the knowledge of the F discussed on the chat group could have ultimately led to someone who was at the crime scene and participated in the murders. That's what good law enforcement do. Instead, what happened? As you can see on intake CJIS 3225, any potential investigation stemming from this potentially game changing information of someone's knowledge of the letter F being involved in the crime scene ended before it even began. Defense has marked an unredacted copy of that report as Exhibit 89 and filed it as confidential. The law enforcement officer that initially evaluated the tip must have understood the importance of mentioning the letter F because conduct follow-up was the request made. However, the next person in the chain of command, Roland Purdy, upon reviewing the tip, simply followed the previous lead of Leggett and Hammond. When it came to possibly further reviewing and further investigation of the tip generated, Roland Purdy in the report identified as IVEST lead DIN dash 940 called Brad Holder, quote, fully covered, end quote, i.e., nothing further to do. Who were these people that somehow knew about the F at the crime scene? How did they obtain that information? Would the world will never know because Trooper Purdy followed Leggett and Hammond's lead and buried the tip by claiming that Brad Holder had been cleared as a suspect. To conclude this section on evidence of Brad Holder's involvement, Richard Allen's defense team would tell the court that Leggett was aware of the many ways detailed in this memo in which Holder was tied to the Delphi murders. Yet despite this evidence linking Brad Holder to the crime, this dialogue between Leggett, who seems to be answering the defense counsel's question at Leggett's August 8th, 2023's deposition concerning what Leggett claims his knowledge of Brad Holder was, footnote 113. At this deposition, defense made a strategic decision not to alert Leggett that the defense was fully aware of the odorous ties to the crime scene, as well as the evidence linking Holder to the crime scene. Defense wanted to determine whether Leggett would be honest and whether Leggett would try to water down any discussion of Odinism and Brad Holder in an attempt to keep the defense off the scent of Odinism and Holder. Leggett took the bait. The dialogue proves insight into Leggett's mentality. He, Leggett, was going to get the defense to believe essentially there was nothing to see here concerning Brad Holder and Odinism and the connection to the crime scene. Please move on. So, question. Okay, so Brad Holder then. So, was there any other reason that Brad Holder was a suspect or at least a person of interest other than the fact that his son dated Abby? Answer: I'm sure there was. I don't recall without reviewing his information. Question: Nothing sits out to you there about why Brad Holder might have been a suspect. Hmm. I feel like he's twisting his little handlebar like it's like when I ask my kids, "Who did this?" Are you kidding me? Nothing stands out at you as you sit there about why Brad Holder might have been a suspect? Well, he must have graduated before No Child Left Behind. Look, it happens, sir. It's okay. No, an other than the connection with his son and Abby, is that right? Answer: Correct. Footnote 114, Leggett Depot 109, lines 24 through 25, and page 110, pay lines 1 through 9. Leggett was on unified command. Leggett was heavily involved in the investigation of the murders. To feign ignorance like that concerning Brad Holder's component of the investigation is astounding. Unified Command was fully aware of the Murphy, Frenzy, and Click investigation tying Johnny Messer and Elvis Fields to Brad Holder. In the deposition, Leggett had the opportunity to open up and say something like, quote, Brad Holder was heavily investigated. There was even thought that he was tied up into some guys down in Rushville. If you don't have that evidence yet, let me get it to you. In the end, we didn't think it added up. End quote. Instead, Leggett took the bait and obviously tried to steer the defense away from Brad Holder evidence, linking Holder to both the crime scene and to the Rushville crew. With Legett's answer here, it is not surprising at all, zero, that Rick's defense team did not receive important discovery concerning the Rushville investigation, particularly Click's April 28, 2023 certified letter to McClelland until April 8, 2023. Again, McClelland only provided this discovery after Leggett and the prosecution realized the defense was fully aware of the Rushville connections, and it was only a matter of time before we would learn of the non-discovered exculpatory evidence. You dirty, rotten bastards. Leggett either intentionally or recklessly concealed the Odinite Brad Holder information from Judge Diner in his October 13th, 2022 affidavit for search warrant. Then Leggett and McClelland attempted to conceal exculpatory evidence from the defense. Had Judge Diner known of the concealed evidence, then Diner would not or should not have signed the warrant. And had the defense not dug in hard and found the needles in the haystack that led to its knowledge of Holder and Odinism, then the defense may never have thought to ask for the missing discovery, and McClelland would have never turned over the Click letter to the defense. Without the Click letter, the defense would not have learned of the other exculpatory evidence. The facts show that Leggett acted intentionally and recklessly. Field's connection to the crime scene. The defense has previously discussed and presented side by side photos that demonstrate that Elvis was mimicking Brad Holder by taking the time to recreate Holder's Facebook page post. Elvis would then post and recreate a Facebook post. What else did Frenzy, Click, and Murphy unearth in their investigation that would connect Elvis to the crime scene? The Odin report provides much of that connective tissue. I am now part of a gang and I have a brother. On page 1 of the Odin report, Mary Jacobs told law enforcement that on February 14th, 2017, Elvis was rambling, hyper, and borderline incoherent. He was talking about having a quote unquote brother, even though Elvis had no male siblings, and was now part of a gang. Elvis told Mary that he had been on the bridge with two girls that were killed. Elvis told her that someone named Abigail was a pain in the ass and a troublemaker. She said Elvis tried to give her, Mary Jacobs, a blue jacket. She told him she had her own jacket. After Elvis made these statements to his sister, Mary Jacobs, she later became aware of the Delphi murders and put two and two together. Sometime 2 to 3 weeks after Elvis made the statements, Mary Jacob and her husband Troy drove to Delphi. While in Delphi, uh, Mary Jacobs talked to law enforcement about the things Elvis had told her on February 14th, 2017. But, quote, due to a massive amount of tips that were generated, her information may have been overlooked. Intake CJI or S-4466, paragraph 5. This unredacted intake sheet with Delphi double homicide written on the top of the page is attached to the memorandum and marked as Exhibit 90. The defense has requested that the prosecutor locate the tip sheet that contains accurate details as to whether to what exactly when Mary Jacobs and her husband visited law enforcement officials in Delphi and what was communicated during this visit. Unfortunately, this is yet another piece of evidence that the defense has not yet received. Excuse me. If my spit is found on the girls, can I explain it away or would I still be in trouble? In December 2018, Mary Jacobs enlisted the help of an old acquaintance of her named Misty Moore. Since law enforcement had not followed up with Mary Jacobs from earlier in the year when she drove to Delphi and described what Elvis had told her, Mary was still concerned that Elvis was involved in the murders, but nothing was being done about it. Misty Moore worked for Homeland Security out of Greenfield, and Mary was hoping Misty would assist in could assist, sorry, in locating someone from law enforcement to become interested in Elvis Fields. Mary talked to Misty Moore, who then passed this information on to proper law enforcement channels. 116, an unredacted copy of investigative thread 12253 is attached and marked as Exhibit 91, filed confidentially. It details the circumstances surrounding how Misty Moore became involved. In January 2018, Mary was interviewed. On February 1st, 2018, state police gave Mary Jacobs a polygraph to determine whether Mary was being truthful about what Elvis had told her a year earlier. Mary passed the polygraph. More on that later. Based on what Mary Jacobs told law enforcement in January 2018, and the based upon don't scratch the carpet, you dingus. And, law enforcement interviewed Elvis on February 27th, 2018. This interview was videotaped, but the defense team just received this video on September 8th, 2023. Jerry Holman from Unified Command conducted this interview of Elvis. Kevin Murphy was also present. During this interview, Elvis agreed to take a mouth swab that would be used for DNA. Jerry Holman and Kevin Murphy, both with state police, explained the purpose of the mouth swab with Elvis, so Elvis was aware that DNA from this mouth swab would be compared to any DNA from the crime scene. At the conclusion of the interview, Trooper Murphy dropped Elvis off at his trailer, as described on page 1 of the Odin report. After Elvis exited the police vehicle and walked towards his trailer, Elvis turned around before entering his house and walked back to Trooper Kevin Murphy's vehicle. When Elvis came near the squad car, Elvis posed the question to Murphy: what would happen if Elvis's spit, was found on one of the girls? But Elvis, has an explanation. Would he still be in trouble? Elvis then walked back to his trailer. Footnote 117. Unfortunately, this spit comment made to Elvis by Murphy was not recorded, but Elvis did admit at a later interview that he somewhat remembered this comment concerning the spit. Elvis's second interview, June 2018, at the looks like 2 hour 2 o'clock, for the love of all that is holy, the 2:40 mark. However, in this upon hearing that troubling, incriminating comment, Trooper Murphy immediately called Unified Command and communicated with Jay Harper. Murphy deposition, um, page 24, lines 1 through 9. On August 22nd, 2018, Elvis's other sister, Joyce Moffett, was interviewed by law enforcement officers Kevin Murphy and Greg Ferenczi. On two previous occasions, Joyce had denied that Elvis made incriminating statements to her. Unredacted supplement number 542, Joyce Moffett interview, marked as Exhibit 64, filed as confidential. However, in this third interview, Joyce reluctantly recounted to Ferenczi and Murphy statements that Elvis had made to her in the fall of 2017. According to Joyce Moffett, sometime in the fall of 2017, Elvis Fields moved in with her, Joyce Moffett, following the death of her boyfriend. This is in just investigation. Joyce recounted the following statement Elvis made to her in the kitchen in October 2017 at the time they were living together under the same roof. I'm in a lot of trouble. I'm going away for a long time. I was on that trail and that bridge with those girls when they were murdered. There were two other people there with me when it happened. I spit on one of the girls after they were killed, Ephesus added. Not only did Elvis make the incriminating statement about going away for a long time and being on the trail when the girls were murdered, but Elvis also confirmed to Joyce that he had indeed spit on one of the girls. Although Elvis reassured Murphy that he, Elvis, would be able to explain the spit, it is unknown at this point if Elvis has provided an explanation. Elvis lied to police, claiming he did not know Johnny Messer, even though Johnny Messer said he not only knew Elvis, but that Elvis was interested in joining Messer's and Brad Holder's Vinlander group. In his June 2018 interview, Elvis unequivocally denied knowing recruiter Johnny Messer. Footnote 121. Elvis's June 2018 interview, approximately at the 1520 mark, attached as Exhibit 92. This denial is important as it is evidence that Elvis knew that the connection between Johnny Messer would connect him to Brad Holder. However, in his October 2018 interview, Johnny Messer tells a different story. In that October 23rd, 2018 interview, Johnny Messer states that Elvis lived with his Johnny's Uncle Billy Messer. Footnote 122. All this information can be found in Johnny Messer's October 23rd, 2018 interview beginning at the 1419 mark. This videotaped interview has been copied onto a flash drive and marked as Exhibit 93 and provided to the court staff. Excuse me. Johnny further stated in the interview that he, Johnny Messer, would take firewood to his uncle's home during the winter that Elvis was living with Billy Messer. Most importantly, Johnny mentions that Elvis's boss, and self-described father figure Ned Smith, and Elvis's roommate Rod Abrams were all interested in joining Johnny Messer's Vinlanders Club. Remember, Brad Holder was also affiliated with that club to footnote 123 just is, a part of the investigation. However, Johnny Messer claims that the Vinlanders would not be interested in the likes of Elvis, Rod Abrams, and Ned Smith. The importance of Elvis lying to police about knowing Johnny Messer cannot be understated. Elvis had to know that if he, Elvis, was connected to Johnny Messer, that he, Elvis, would eventually be connected to Brad Holder. It should again be noted that this is interesting that Ned Smith pursued an attorney for Elvis. Footnote 124 in Supplement 523 on June 28th, 2018. Attorney Jill Gonzalez contacted Trooper Jay Harper and informed Harper that Elvis would not be taking a polygraph pursuant to her advice. Trooper Harper told the attorney that if Elvis refused to take a polygraph, that Elvis would not be excluded as a witness and would possibly be under consideration as a person of interest. Then, in spite of his claims that Elvis would continue to be a person of interest, Harper ended the report indicating no further at this time will be conducted regarding Elvis Fields. In other words, Harper was talking out of both sides of his mouth, telling the attorney that Elvis would continue to be a suspect, but then closing the book on Elvis, stating there was nothing further to do at this time. Supplement number 523 narrative is marked as Exhibit 94 attached to this memoranda. And that Ned Smith wanted to sit in on Elvis's October 2018 interview with the police. In doing so, Ned was able to learn what type of questions were being asked of Elvis and provide Ned the ability to end the interview if Elvis started saying things incriminating of Elvis, Ned, or Rod Abrams. This person who wanted to sit next to Elvis at the interview had previously paid for an attorney for Elvis, is the same Ned Smith that, according to Johnny Messer, wanted to join Brad Holder's Vinlander crew. Elvis's purported alibi. Rod Abrams lied about where he and Elvis were on February 13th, 2017, and Rod Abrams' false alibi conflict with the alibi that Elvis provided the office. In his June 20th, 2018 interview, Elvis Fields told Frenzy and Murphy that he, Elvis, remembered being home in Rushville 192 days earlier on February 13th, 2017. It is quite a remarkable feat for someone with Elvis's mental capacity to remember a specific day 492 days earlier. For some people, like actress Mary Lou Henner, who are blessed with something called an autobiographical memory, which allows a person to remember specific days of their lives, even years and years later. As previously noted by Murphy, in his opinion, Elvis Fields has the mentality of a 7 or 8-year-old. Murphy deposition, page 21, excuse me, lines 14 through 17. Still, rather than admit that he, Elvis, had no idea where he was on February 13th, 2017, Elvis claimed he could specifically remember not leaving Rushville on February 13th, 2017. Footnote 126, page 1 of the Odin report, and June 20th, 2018 Interviews start interview at the 14:35:40 mark. Also in his first interview, Elvis told the police he had, quote, "proof of witness that he didn't leave Rushville." February 27th, 2018 interview at the 14:29:16 mark. This video is provided on a flash drive as Exhibit 95. Rod Abrams problem. On August 29th, 2018, Ferenczi and Murphy interviewed Rod Abrams. When asked where he and Elvis were on February 13th, 2017, Abrams said that he, Elvis, and Ned Smith were in Muncie on the day visiting a sick friend at the hospital. Odin Report, page 3. Well, that seems to be like a problem because, well, Elvis said that y'all stayed in Rushville. Autobiographical memory must be in the water in Rushville, as Rod Abrams, when interviewed, was able to remember exactly where he was 562 days earlier. In addition to remembering they were at the hospital in Muncie, Rod also stated both he and Elvis had their phones with them. When told that law enforcement could check cell phone records to see if Rod was actually at the hospital in Muncie, Rod explained that, quote, hospital cut cell phone or reception on phones because they interfere with hospital equipment, end quote. So their phones would probably not show that they were at the hospital in Muncie. Footnote number 28. Odin Report, page 3. In a supplement number 542 Joyce Moffett report provided in Discovery, handwritten notes, presumably of law enforcement, state the following: Fields, Ned Smith, Rod Abrams, not in Muncie on February 13th, 2017, at the hospital. This was the conclusion of law enforcement, and obviously Rod Abrams' ridiculous statement that their cell phone records would not confirm that their phones were at the hospital because of hospital equipment is common sense evidence that Rod Abrams was lying as well. The phone problem. On February 13th, 2017, phone records apparently show that Elvis's phone stayed at the same place in Rushville from approximately 10:30 a.m. until 7:30 p.m. Odin Report, page 3. Phone records also show that Elvis, for some reason, did not use his phone whatsoever for roughly 9 hours. Elvis told law enforcement that he usually kept his phone on him. Elvis, February 27th, 2018 interview at the 14:02:30 mark. As stated in the previous paragraph, Rod Abrams claimed that Elvis had taken his phone to Muncie to visit the mystery friend at the hospital. However, phone records show that Elvis's phone was in Rushville during the time frame. The phone problem is twofold. Elvis's phone remaining at his house for roughly 9 hours straight conflicts with Rod Abrams' professed alibi for Elvis, Ned Smith, and Rod Abrams, and two, in today's day and age, it would seem highly unlikely that Elvis simply did not pick up his phone for roughly 9 hours, especially when Elvis claimed that he usually kept his phone with him. The takeaway for any curious investigator would be, at minimum, twofold. One, Rod Abrams lied about being in Muncie, but Elvis forgot to stick with that lie. And two, Elvis went up to Delphi but was told to leave his phone behind so phone data would not show that he, Elvis, was in Delphi. It is unknown if Rod Abrams or Ned Smith's phone records were ever recovered. Suffice it to say, Elvis and Rod Abrams' alibis, quote unquote, are highly suspicious. Elvis described forming horns out of sticks and placing them on Abby's head, and crime scene photos confirm Elvis's statement. Perhaps one of the most damaging pieces of evidence that links Elvis to the crime scene was found in an unusual place in the middle of a report that memorializes the results of Mary Jacobs' polygraph examination. Footnote 131. A copy of said report is attached to this memorandum and marked as Exhibit 96, filed as confidential. In Mary's pre-examination review, the polygraph examiner Stephanie Thompson recorded that Mary Jacobs states the following: Quote, Elvis told her Mary Abigail is a little troublemaker and that he placed leaves on her and used sticks to give her horns. 132, footnote that is, page 3, exhibit 96, polygraph report. Horns and antlers are common symbols used in pagan rituals, and Brad Holder himself displayed the Odinite fascination with horns on his Facebook post. Find attached Exhibit 97 from Brad Holder's Facebook page. As you can see, the middle photograph is an image of a person with small stick like antlers on the top of their head. Find attached a close up photograph of Abby's head from the crime scene. Uh, Footnote 133. See Exhibit 98, close up photograph of sticks above Abby's head from the crime scene marked as confidential. From a dis from a distance, it may not be immediately noticeable. However, upon closer inspection, it is obvious that someone involved in the killing intentionally placed small sticks from a tree on top of Abby's hair to resemble horns or antlers. The horns formed sticks on Abby's head looked similar to an image found on Holder's Facebook page, Exhibit 97. The defense has not viewed one single report that discussed the sticks placed atop Abby's hair, shaped like horns or antlers, being compared with Elvis's statement to his sister that he shaped sticks into horns on Abby. Therefore, the presumption is that Unified Command never figured this out. Trooper Purdy was present at the polygraph examination but was not able to watch the examination and therefore did not know about Elvis's words to his sister Mary about using the sticks to form horns on Abby. Purdy Depot 68, lines 20 through 25, and page 69, giggity, lines 1 through 3. Rather than being curious in the year 2023 as to how Elvis knew such a thing, then using the information as a basis to secure a search warrant or even an arrest on Elvis when factoring in all the evidence, sadly, it is expected that law enforcement will do the exact opposite of being curious. It is expected that law enforcement will claim that the photograph doesn't prove anything or that the defense is exaggerating the photograph. Perhaps Unified Command will huddle together and establish the go-to party line stance on how to deal with a problem created with polygraph examination information and the photo of the sticks formed as horn on Abby's head in the crime scene photographs. It would be refreshing if someone in Unified Command would stop worrying about how the public would view their incompetence, admit to mistake, and then perform the type of police work that should have been performed 6 years ago. Ooh, someone call the cops because there has been a moida up in here. The defense is not holding its breath. As the defense uh, hold Holman to his deposition, the unfortunate expectation is Holman and Leggett will try to figure out how to solve the problem rather than solve the case of who murdered those two girls. Elvis's insider knowledge of the crime scene may be a place for Holman to start. Again, part of this Frank's analysis involves the court reviewing the behavior of law enforcement to determine whether Leggett intentionally concealed and falsified evidence in his affidavit for a search warrant. Leggett and Holman and the rest of Unified Command's reaction to the information contained in the polygraph examination concerning sticks formed into horns on Abby's head and the very well may very well reveal whether Leggett is interested in the truth or burying the truth, which again is part of Frank's analysis. I'm going to go with door number 2. And I think I'm gonna stop this here and get this downloading, and then we'll do part 3 because holy fazolies, this is forever long. But it's good information and we're learning a lot. But I wanna make this break upable into smaller pieces, and Fry needs to go out to potty, and frankly, so do I. So, sure, that was TMI, and you did not need to know that, and I have to remember filter things, Mo, before they come out of your mouth hole. That is something I'm learning still. Anyway, I am going to stop this and get this uploading, and then I will see you for the next part of this huge, enormous memo.